In this week's Close of Play, Bangladesh are out of the T20 World Cup. Will Pakistan follow suit? Does this give sides like Nepal and Ireland a chance to qualify for the next round? And we review England's ODIs versus Sri Lanka. In City Point, we make up our Bands 11 and talk about kangaroo balls. And is the European T20 League another nail in the coffin of Test cricket? Plus a roundup of what else has happened this week. Remember to like and subscribe and enjoy the show. Another exciting week in the world of international cricket, Jonesy. We spoke extensively last week about Bangladesh and the T20 World Cup. Before we get into that, how's your week been? Anything exciting that we all need to know about the world of a teacher come cricket coach?
It's Monday night that we do these, and I'm a bit frazzled. It's been one of those days. But yeah, it's good. We spoke about going to Saracens with Tommy, and that was an enjoyable day out for me. Yeah, fantastic. First time to the Stone X, and I loved it. It's a real sort of friendly stadium, open at one end, and so it's. I was talking to Tommy, we were comparing it when we went to the Super Bowl with 80,000 plus at Wembley.
Slight difference.
Compared to going, but it's actually how close you could be and that enjoyable nature. There were still people that could stand up almost on the sideline watching it. I really enjoyed it and glad we went. We saw a bucket load of points, 73 points, I think it was. So
that
was my highlight. But then, down to earth with a thud today, back in the classroom.
There you are.
And then some
marvellous stuff
this afternoon.
Yes, so that's your trip outside the world of cricket. We're bringing you back into it. Bangladesh are out, as we said. Yeah, I suppose the ultimate losers of this are the Bangladeshi cricket-loving public.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not something we want to see. It's one of the, we'll call them a main cricket nation, not being at a World Cup, because Bangladesh are a team that can throw up some upsets.
Yeah, they beat England once, didn't they?
Yeah, and the conditions, you'd argue, are in their favour. It's sort of suitable with the subcontinent conditions. So yeah, the fans are the ones who will be missing out of potentially playing the bigger countries, and also the players themselves. I know it's
good
it's partly led by so the player decision with that. It's a shame.
And the other news that isn't news yet, but may well be, is that Pakistan still may pull out. They've got a meeting next week over it. And they're going to make a decision just 4 days before they're due to play their first match versus the Netherlands. If they do pull out, Uganda will come in. Yes, it's going to be difficult for Uganda in preparation. They'll be sitting there, the Ugandan players this weekend, wondering if they're going to be going or not. And they're not going to find out till early to middle of next week. But what a great opportunity! Losses equal gains for other people. What a great opportunity for Uganda, for some of the other smaller nations who are now starting to play tournament cricket on a world stage.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's probably the big plus of it. If we talk directly about who's replacing Bangladesh in Scotland, and I've got a really close link with best man of my wedding, Owen Dawkins, who recently, just not long before Christmas, was named as their new head coach, and here he is in charge, off to a World Cup, and so I'm hugely excited for him to get that experience, and as well as those Scottish players. But knowing Dawkins as I do, he's been coaching a long time. He's worked his way through the Gloucester system, and he probably didn't expect an opportunity like this, but for him, it's wow, unbelievable. Go to India, go to Scotland. And so then if you then also think of how excited potentially the Ugandan players are. So when I was playing in my time for PNG, we played against Uganda in the qualifiers. And so now those guys those guys who'll be there thinking, we could go to a proper World Cup, they'll be hoping that Pakistan make the decision to show their support for Bangladesh and boycott as well.
Going off script slightly then, with your PNG days, what was it like? I mean, obviously you played for England. You know, you played decent cricket in Australia, decent standard cricket, and then you're playing for PNG against, you know, Ugandans. I'm not putting either side down clearly, but is there, what did you find? How did you find the difference between the standards, and B, from a personal perspective, how did you manage to get yourself up to the same sort of levels that you would have done playing for England?
I suppose, yeah, there's a standard wise, it's that just fraction lower. So you're not facing the extreme pace that you're doing. And I sort of had the qualifiers that I went to were in Dubai, as you know, and seeing you out there, and then in New Zealand. And so especially in Dubai, the wickets there were okay wickets, but with the bowlers you had, it tended to be that those countries would fall to their spin. I'd say they had better spin bowling option than quick bowling option. All those, you know, those countries, and that's where you probably got tested as equally, but you didn't have the fear up front of someone, you know, like a Jofra Archer coming in to really. But sprinkled in amongst all those teams were a number of ex-professionals. So you think of, you know, if you think of Italy, Grant Stewart, who plays for Kent, he's playing there.
Okay.
So that's what you did come up against professionals with those sides, but what you did come up against was those top-notch
Yeah.
internationals. So that's why when you see these countries go to World Cups, that's they get exposed, I would say, more so by high quality pace than they do by the spin, because they're used to playing good quality spin, and on wickets that's why they, you know, someone like England, if they had their full armouring of speed, they would just look to bounce out
Hmm.
Uganda. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
they knew that if they pitch it up, they're a chance of swinging and hitting it straight.
Hmm.
But if you test them, you make it awkward and horrible. That's the difference. They probably haven't got the tools to deal with that as well.
Yeah, I remember when that tournament that I did see you at in Dubai, Gareth Berg, the Middlesex all-rounder, I guess, was playing for Italy at the time. I think he was captaining, and Tom Cooper was playing for the Dutch. You know, and he was, you know, playing for South Australia, I think, and I think he played Australia A and was on the verges off. So yeah, decent standard. I mean, there's a few sides in there, isn't there? If you look at England's group, which is Group C, Scotland have come into that to replace Bangladesh, and you've got Italy, Nepal, and the West Indies in there. You would think, wouldn't you, that on Sunday, the 15th of February, at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai, where Nepal take on the West Indies, and this is towards the end of the group stages, that's potentially a shootout to see who joins England. And you know, I can't see England not going through, qualifying for the Super 8, and that'd be an amazing achievement for a country like Nepal to go through. Or Scotland. I mean, I'm ruling, and I think it's Nepal or West Indies who'll join England in the next round. But what a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what. Yes, you go there to participate in these World Cups, but ultimately you want to try and get to that next stage. And so for, like you said, if it's West Indies, Nepal shooting out for that, yes, you would ordinarily think, okay, that's going to be a pretty easy match for the West Indies, but bringing conditions into it probably levels it out. And I know when we've spoken before about Nepal and their spin options from my time playing against Nepal when I did for PNG, that is what their attack was based around. They didn't have the 6 foot whatever fast bowler. They
Yeah.
had an armory of spin bowling. So someone like, you know, well, our friend Stewie Law, who's in charge of Nepal, he'll be
Mm.
looking at this. He'll be looking at this going, wow, what an opportunity. Right, let's really hone in on how we're going to approach it. What's our best method? Because we are a real chance of progressing through. And he'll be looking at certain fixtures and going, well, if we can have a win there and get certain amount of points, guys, let's aim for this amount of points because we think that's what'll get us through.
Yeah. But Nepal's first and only, I think, T20 series victory against a full member nation side was against the West Indies in about October, November or so. So they're coming off a bit of recent history in that. And Stuart Law, as you say, coach of Nepal, was the coach of the USA in the last T20 World Cup, and he got them into the Super Six or Super Eights last time, where I think they beat Pakistan. So he's got history. He knows what to expect, and you know he'll be preparing those boys well. A couple of other groups in Group B. Australia in that group, they're going to win it, you'd think. And then it's quite interesting because you've got Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka, and Ireland in that group, and one of those three are likely to join Australia through. That's. I mean, you'd think Sri Lanka, but that's tighter than it looks on paper.
Yeah, again, just thinking of it there, it leans towards Sri Lanka because they're
At home.
you consider them a regular test playing country at home. Hopefully the wickets are a bit better than what they've produced
what
for
Harry Brooks said. Yeah,
the current series. But then if you were Sri Lanka, why would you give Ireland, for an example, a half decent wicket which brings them into it? This is this home advantage. You'd put up a dirty wicket that Ireland come across something, with their own spinners. So that's with that home advantage and and the two countries there. So Sri Lanka should go through there, but
you think so?
Ireland always do well. Yeah.
Group A is India's group, but Group D, actually, that's an interesting group because South Africa, New Zealand, and Afghanistan are all in that group, and it's going to be very difficult to pick 2 out of 3. You'd think from.
You'd sort of think that's the toughest group to get through, wouldn't you? With those,
yeah, you'd think so. Yeah,
with those 4 you've named there, because again, I'd sort of wonder if the conditions potentially don't favour South Africa that well. That'd be one. But yeah, that group seems like the old football favourite group of death, doesn't it?
Yeah, the one England always seem to get. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Afghanistan come through that group, But well, let's see. It starts. When's the first game? I think the weekend of the 7th or so of February. I think so. It's going to be an interesting World Cup on and off the pitch. Let's see what happens. And England have started their warm up for that World Cup by playing ODIs in Sri Lanka. That makes perfect sense. But as you say, the second match. Sorry, Harry Brook complained about the pitch, and that's the match that England won. But they lost the first game of the series against Sri Lanka by 18 runs. Kusal Mendes getting 90 odd. Duckett. Root got runs in both matches, 61 in the first one and 70 odd, I think, in the 75 in the second. Zach Crawley had a miserable time, no runs in the first, and then injured in the second one. And I thought what was interesting there was Rehan Ahmed over in the batting.
Yeah, and he's, I did a little bit of work experience, I suppose you could call it, with the Lions at Canterbury last year, and Rehan got 100, and I watched him bat, and he's a very exciting batter, and he doesn't surprise me that they think he can bat up the top. He's a bit of a dasher, and so unfortunate for Zach with his knee injury, but it maybe helped him out a bit because I think that pretty much everyone was surprised that Zach was opening the batting in that first one. Especially after the winter with the Ashes. He hasn't got much pedigree of one-day cricket to call on, but he does make these sides, and so you never want to see a player injured. But quietly, England were potentially giving that chance to give Rehan up the top was something you could argue they wanted to look at anyway. So without having to officially drop Zach, they got that opportunity. But there was also rumours of him batting down in the middle order anyway, and so either he wasn't even going to open it. Again, Joe Root showing absolute class. He batted, didn't he, on wickets which were stinky wickets. He just played like the legend of a player he is. And then you watched, I think Zach got stumped heavily in the first, and then Harry Brook also got stumped in that first one.
Yeah.
And so, so you then look at it, for me, looking from the outside, is if you're in a bit of trouble, why are you getting stumped? But Joe Root, again, he held the glue, and that's why for a little while he was out of the one-day side, wasn't he? They sort of binned him.
Yeah.
But I think he pretty much averages over 50 in one-day cricket as well, doesn't he? Or he's very close to. Yeah. And so you then sort of watch him play, and you hope that the others learn from that. And no matter the wicket, if you apply yourself well, approach it and sum up and play the right conditions, you can score runs.
England bowled 40 overs of spin. It's the most they've bowled since 1985, I think it was. And that's good. I mean, that's good captaincy, really, isn't it? It's rather than the the standard approach to how England would have in the past bowled, so your normal quicks to the top and keep going. Yeah, to bowl 40 overs of spin is a good effort by Harry Brook and shows good potential from a thought process perspective.
Yeah, and clearly the wicket demanded that. You know, when you the way they said it broke up and the criticism it got, and this is following on from the first one where they went in with a bare five bowlers, didn't they? And that got shown up where we went in with two seamers and three spinners, whereas this time they completely loaded it with more options. And again, the injury to Zach probably helped that. But you still need to manage it as captain, to get through eight bowlers. And that's the balance you have. If someone's going well, the brave thing is to take them off and bring someone new on. Whereas rather than just going, okay, you keep going. But if you do that, batters then line you up and batters get accustomed to you. So you often see it in T20 cricket, and we might well see it throughout the World Cup, where one over spells or two over
Mm.
spells. And so when you've got the armory to be able to do it, it's not a bad thing to do because it throws the rhythm of batters out. Whereas as a batter, you want to, it's a cat and mouse game. As the batter, you're trying to predict what the bowler's, how is trying to get you out and how then can you counteract it. But if you're always having to chop and change that thinking and that mental tax, that leads to potentially poor decisions. And so Harry Brook's done that quite well to get eight bowlers bowling shared across. It's probably the Sri Lankan batters probably found it difficult to get into a rhythm against one particular bowler.
Where do you stand on the sort of the traditional sort of, five batters and all rounder keeper, four bowlers approach versus a side that's made up of more all rounders? Do you have a preference either way?
I'm old, mate, so I'm a bit traditional, but the nature of cricket players now is that it in a way gone are those days where you had one main skill. You definitely have to have two, and if one of those is fielding, and so then if you're a batter now, being able to bowl, probably generally spin, you don't see too many sort of fast bowling all rounders anymore. But yeah, so I think it's the way it tends to be is that new age cricketers can multi skilled, and so you're going to see more of it. The traditional, so well, out of that side, you could probably argue what was it? Just Duckett up the top only did Duckett and even your keeper's multi skilled. So
Yeah.
the wicket also allowed you it warranted to do that. I think on more when you get to somewhere here like England, you're probably going to go more traditional with
Yeah.
two or three two fast bowlers. But when you get on these wickets that you need lots of options, that's where your players need to be definitely multi-skilled.
Yeah, India used to open with Ashwin, didn't they? So, it's sort of expected in that part of the world that spinner is going to open the bowling for you. Staying with England, there's been a sort of a mini review, I suppose, after the Ashes. Nothing official, but it seems like Rob Key's kept his job. Brendan McCullum, not sure. Let's see how he probably gets on in this World Cup. But the person who has the official line is that he's stood down as England's selectors, Luke Wright. That's somebody you played against, I guess, Luke. He must be your sort of era-ish.
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah,
he
quite a
was?
lot.
Do you think he was scapegoated, or do you think that's he did actually stand down, and it's time for England to move on and find somebody else?
Yeah, honestly, no idea. Um, it's a funny one with everything that went on in the Ashes. If the head selector was the one that got the chop, whether or not Darren Lehman came out and said that he's never met a selector. So
Mm.
whether or not that was part of it, they looked at how the selection process is done behind, in county cricket. And if that was Luke Wright's remit and you've got Darren Lehman saying, well, I've never met a selector, they're going, hang on a minute, what's going on? You can understand that maybe they've that potentially, but I'd like to think it's his choice. And, because if he's the only one to
Mm.
sort of
So
to
far,
cop it
yeah,
out of what's
yeah,
going. Yeah, that's that's a bit harsh because I think there was a lot more that went wrong than just.
yeah.
I don't even think the people were picked on that, or you could say were wrong, were they?
Didn't seem it from the outset, did it?
If you look at the squad,
Yeah.
no, all the stuff that's been spoken about was, Luke Wright's not deciding if they play in, where they play in Perth.
Hmm.
Luke Wright's giving his opinion with his scouts on the best 16 or 15, 16 that they should take. The rest
Yeah,
of
and
it,
on
all
that
that other
basis,
stuff,
yeah.
yeah. So I'd give Luke the benefit. He's a really nice guy, and
Yeah.
he's always enjoyed playing against him. He's a competitor, so I'd like to think it is his choice, because if it isn't, I think that's harsh.
Yeah, because he played for smaller counties. He was at Leicestershire, I suppose, when he was younger than Sussex for the vast majority, I suppose. So it's not like he's playing for Surrey and, Middlesex and whatever. So, yeah, interesting to see. Yeah, it's interesting to see, if anything, if that is just what it seems like on the surface or if he's been scapegoated. But you're never going to know, are you? So let's see how we go on. It is now time for Silly Point. Now, you've been quite keen to bring this story to the public domain, haven't you? You messaged me about it about a couple of weeks ago, and we've done nothing with it. So drum roll, please. Geraint Jones is going to tell you all about kangaroo balls.
I'll tell you what, hang on a minute. I forgot about this. Tell you what,
Have you've got one there? It's like
day's
this
done
one I
me in.
made earlier.
Yeah.
Excellent podcasting. So I'll just carry on and as normal and pretend that Geraint is there, and we've been having an in-depth discussion. Oh, he's back. I can't get into what I was going to call him. What on earth is that?
Is this what you're talking about? So this is what's the bottle opener with a. Well, I'll be careful. But this is a
Are they
family-friendly
actual proper
program.
kangaroo knackers?
Well, I think it's possibly the pouch. Hopefully, it's not what's in there, but it's a bottle opener.
It looks. I can see it's a bottle opener. It's more the two sort of bulbs of garlic that are hanging at the bottom of it. I was worried about.
My dog got a hold of this. My dog quite enjoyed having a bit of a sniff around these. But anyway.
Excellent. And anyway, back to, I suppose we are on kangaroo balls.
Yeah.
So what do you know about these things then?
So it's, I messaged you a little while ago because we try and sort of think of some stuff to do. And I saw it, I must have been on social media, that there's a father and son in Australia who
Adelaide,
are looking at, we've talked as well. Yeah, we've talked about the price of equipment, and cricket balls come into this, and they're looking at a sort of a cost-friendly way of trying to produce cricket balls, and using kangaroo leather is something that they've looked at. It's not, the outside is still cowhide, but it's the inner. So they're using one of the inner layers instead of having it all. That's where they're using, because kangaroos are quite a pest in Australia. So they are cold. So if you can finding a use for that, and what they're trying to do is to match the quality of traditional cricket balls, but with a more cheap alternative way. And so they're called Guru cricket balls, and basically they're crowdfunding at the moment, trying to get this sort of become a business for them, so that they can take it forward. But so you can get your company stamp on it, and so it's a crowdfunding thing. But I just thought it was interesting that people are out there trying to develop ways of making our game cheaper, because it's definitely something that is spoken about a lot. I saw another thing where a bat was made out of wood shavings or wood glue, and trying to reduce it down that way. And so it was something quirky, and but it's interesting, and I hope that they get their crowdfunding levels and are able to really pursue it and produce it. But father and son duo in Australia. So have a look, Guru Cricket.
Given the fact that the inside of the ball is made out of kangaroo hide, do you think there'll be more bounce? No, you don't. No. What are the kangaroos sort of? And we should have thought about this more.
That's what they're trying. That's what they're trying to avoid.
But
it's also a good thing now. You can't lick and put saliva on the balls, isn't it? That is for sure.
Yeah, we'll probably move on from that at this particular point, I think. Right. So you're so last week you had actually wasn't too bad. on the basis that you actually listened and you understood the game. So I've stuck with the theme this week because I don't want to confuse you too much. So last week it was, and you haven't, I don't know whether you played golf with your mate, your hungover mate again this week, or this is all your own work. But what I'm looking for are a band's 11 where the band, should be named after something to do with cricket anyway. And I gave you the example of the Smiths, or the Martin Counting Crows as my two examples to give you a steer as to what you've got. How you got on? Go on, give me your side. I can see you looking at your phone.
There has been, I'll admit, there has been a little bit of collaboration.
No, yeah.
They're enjoying getting into it. So
is this your boys?
So Patch again has
mates. Okay, mates.
Yeah,
involved.
Patch and Jago. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mate. So we've come up with like 13. Do you want me just to?
Yeah.
Shall I start off first?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Pink, ready? Pink Ball Floyd, Simon Jones and Garfunkel.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Oasis.
I've got that one. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Deep Cover Purple.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, fine.
Radio
okay.
Travis Head.
Yeah, good. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
This is oldie. Fun. John Snow Patrol.
Oh, good. Yes, that's very good. Excellent.
Aero Steve Smith.
Okay. Yeah, it's good.
The Ben Strokes.
Yeah, I've got that one as well. Yeah.
And then this one also links in with I know you're in the in a commentating business, and so Thin Leg Side Lizzie.
Yes, very good. Yes.
She's a cricket writer that a lot of people will know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Radio Dean Headley.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Didn't you use Radiohead with Travis Head?
That was, yeah. So
that's fine.
So that wasn't mine. That one.
Fine. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that
Ollie Stone Roses?
Oh, excellent.
No, got a couple more.
Okay, good. No. I mean, this is excellent stuff.
This
is BAFTA winning.
Yeah. Adele Rashid.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's going to be difficult to top. I like that one. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final one, Iron Maiden Over.
Oh, yes. Very good. Good work by Patch. Patch is definitely better than last week's performance that he put in. So he's obviously didn't have as many beers on a Friday night, I'm assuming, this week. Do you want to hear mine?
Yeah.
Well, the easiest one was Travis Head, because Travis were a band in the 90s. So Travis Head. So that's that one.
Yeah.
There's not really a batting order, but it's a mixed team. Just got some men and some women in it. The Vervinder Sehwags, Virat Kohli play, Oasis Shah that you had, the Humar Gul, the Ben Strokes. That's fine. We had that. The Kapil Dev Matthews Band, and going back a bit, this one as well, Anil Kumble Dance Band. Do you remember the Kumble Dance Band? They were sort of a really bad group back in the 80s. Anil Kumble Dance Band. Nasir Pearl Jam Shed is particularly good.
What?
I like that one. Nasir Pearl Jam Shed. Pearl Jam Shed. Oh, do you have to explain it to you? That was good. Lauren, Bell and Sebastian. Sophie Divine Comedy. Kate Crisscross. Everybody jump, crisscross, like that one. Alistair Cookie Crew.
Clothes on backwards, weren't they? Crisscross.
Yeah, exactly. Alistair Cookie Crew. Cam Green Day. Deep Tea Purple.
Yeah.
And Martin Counting Crows is my last one. So actually that was better than last week. That's a good game, that. I like it now. Because needs a bit of thinking. And I think, what was your Adil Rashid one? Sorry, what was Patch's Adil Rashid one?
Adele.
I should say.
Adele Rashid.
Yeah. Adele Rashid.
Pash and Jago. Yeah, Adele Rashid.
See, Adele Rashid, I'm liking the verve into Sehwags. I think that's good. I like my Humar Gul as well. But no, overall, I think we've done well there, and we need to be congratulated. This can be some sort of, when we write our book, we can actually have a little section in there of our various 11s, can't we? And that'll be something that everyone can look forward to. So that's marvelous. That's a good game. How many more of these do you want to do before we get to the British sitcoms 11? Are we going straight into that next week, or do you fancy some sort of other one?
No, mate.
And then we move on.
There
Let's do
must be something. Maybe. What about maybe our listeners and our viewers could suggest something to
suggest some
try and
top. Yeah.
catch. Generally, you try and catch me out. So yeah. So maybe there's some beauties out there that they can send our way.
Yeah, suggest topics for Jonesy and I to make up our really bad 11s from, and let's see if we can do a worse job than we've done so far, which won't be that difficult. So there you go. We've covered the T20 World Cup. We've covered kangaroo balls. You've brought some out, which was very unexpected. It has to be said. Yes, we don't need to see it again, do we? With regard stroking your balls on a podcast isn't going to get us any sponsorship, is it? Let's face it. We've got our band 11 that we've done a marvellous job on. So let's get serious. You ready? Cop that. Now, I know this was supposed to have happened last year, but it didn't, right? Which is not really a surprise. But this year is allegedly going to happen towards the end of the summer here, September time, where it's the European T20 League. The Abhishek Bachchan and some other Bollywood investors have got together and pulled together this league. It's organised by Cricket Scotland, Cricket Ireland, and the Dutch, Royal Dutch Federation, I think they're called. So therefore it's sanctioned. 6 teams across Ireland, Scotland, and the Dutch. Amsterdam Flames are co-owned by Steve Waugh, Mitch Marsh, Steve Smith's playing. The Edinburgh Castle Rockers, they could have been in our bands, 11. On the previous section, Mitchell Santner's captained, and the Belfast Wolves has got Glenn Maxwell as a co-owner, and he's going to play. Now, my take on this is as such. I mean, all right, IPL, fantastic, huge event. BBL, Big Bash, BBL. I suppose the 100 here more so than the T20 Blast. Is this league another nail in the coffin for Test cricket? Because more and more broadcasters, it's a bit like the Baller League or the Kings thing in Spain, which is, it's there to give younger audiences an alternative to the Premier League, for second file, the traditional format of the game. And so you've got shorter versions of the game popping up all over the place. And it's the same players now. There's only a finite pool of players, and they're going round and round and round. Finn Allen, I think it is, who's playing maybe in the Big Bash, forewent his New Zealand contract to get to play franchise cricket. And I can see more and more people doing this. Again, I think you're going to end up in a situation where you've got the Ashes and the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and that'll be it. There'll be no more Test cricket. And it is because of these multiple lucrative leagues that are popping up all around the world, and every country or area is going to have one soon. And the players are going to go, well, I can just do that, and I won't bother playing Test cricket. And for me, that is the danger of this European T20 League and anything else that pops up. What do you think? Do you think I'm talking out my absolute jack, or do you think there's some merit in the whole thing?
Are you talking kangaroo?
We could do that, can we? Can you bring that on every podcast?
Mate.
And what we can do on Cop That, if you think I'm talking out my arse, you can just wave your knackers in the way of the camera, can't you?
I just wave.
Yeah,
Well,
knackers.
Not mine, literally. That would.
Knackers.
Yeah. So just remind me, when is this tournament proposed to be played?
September of this year. It was supposed to be last year, but it's September now, I think.
One thing I like about it is its timing, because arguably it's a lull period for cricket, because we're not yet into being able to play in the Southern Hemisphere because of the weather, and we're at the back end of the English summer. Well, there is Test matches should be done, and so by that sort of time, for that point, I think it fits well into calendars, which is a bit of beef I have around these other tournaments. These other tournaments are at times which is contradicting domestic cricket in certain countries, and that's why you're then getting players opting over country to go play in these more lucrative. So I like the timing of it. I'm a bit baffled why it's the Australians who you've got investing. Why aren't we having some of our English stars investing in it? That's sort of so. But obviously, that's you come back to the IPL and the Australians' links with IPL, and so that's where they've formed that. So
And
I
Major
like
League
the
Cricket in
fact
the States as
it's
well.
you've got Ireland. Yeah, so I like you've got Ireland, Scotland, the Netherlands involved in it because I think they do. For we talked about it in terms of the World Cup. I like their players getting opportunities because their players generally don't get opportunities in the 100 in the Big Bash or very very infrequently. So in terms of building that up, I think it has some real positives. I like the names. I think the names are better than the 100 names as well. So there is some good things going for it for sure.
But ultimately, you've got the players who are good enough to play around the world. So I take your point about the timing. But if you are James Vince, for saying, I know he's already done it, he gave up his England life and career to be richer at the end of the day. But he's got, and there's players like that who are younger who could just go, actually, why do I need to play Test cricket? Yes, my grandfather might be really pleased I've represented my country at international level. But, if I'm playing, all around the world, I'm amazed you haven't brought up your love child Jordan Cox in this conversation yet, around the fact that he's a likely candidate to do that sort of type of thing because, he can just play around the world, have a great life, make a load of money, and whether he's remembered in the record books or not, I'm not sure he really cares. I mean, I don't know the bloke, but some will, some won't. But ultimately, Test cricket something's got to give, is what I'm saying. And with Test cricket already waning with regards to the crowds in a lot of places, you're going to end up with marquee tournaments only, and that is only the Ashes. All right, you could arguably say Australia, South Africa potentially, but you've got the Ashes and the Border Gavaskar Trophy as it, and that is a real shame for a sport that is held dear by so many people around the world.
Yeah, and you definitely have a point. There is, and I think where its major concern is for the countries that aren't playing a lot of Test cricket, because I still think that players believe that's the pinnacle. We heard Jacob Bethel talking about that for England, and if you are an English player, you have got Test cricket to sort of dream of playing all year round.
Hmm.
But
So I think there's some countries that don't even have a home Test series this year or the course of their normal playing season. I don't think.
yeah, and that's where you get the attraction of these pop-up leagues, is because someone who looks at it and thinking, well, hang on a minute, I don't have the opportunity to play Test match cricket because there isn't any. And so how much am I going to earn domestically? So let's talk about West Indies, and realistically, how much are those boys going to get paid for playing first class cricket for their country, for Barbados, Jamaica?
Hmm.
Not a lot compared to, right, let's go around the world. And I think for those guys going forward, that's where the trouble with playing for their country comes into it, because the earning stakes for their country, well, there isn't any because there isn't any cricket being played. So for them, it sort of is what they have to do. But and that's going to be the trouble for those boards, is how those boards deal with it. Do they try and put more cricket on for them? But you've got it set in stone. The next 7 years, the Future Tours program is set, and so that's all been agreed. But it seems like these little pop-up T20s can just be fitted into the future
Yeah.
tours. It's not like they're saying, okay, in order to protect some Test cricket, let's try and put something in here. Okay, no, let's just have another T20, because what that is income generating, and boards, in order to survive, will want money. So I'm not sure how it works out with Scotland, Ireland, and Denmark, with for the Netherlands with this European League, but
Hmm.
it's probably a nice little booster where they can actually use that money where they're always worried about where their funding's coming from. If
I
they've
ju-
got a big cash injection,
do you know what would be interesting though? Also, is if in the short term, boards pursue T20 cricket and shorter format cricket for broadcast and for sponsorship money. And then there is viewer fatigue for these tournaments. And actually that starts dropping off, and they've abandoned Test cricket for the shorter format. Potentially could be left with nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's where funding comes into it, doesn't it? So it is a real tricky balance. And I'm sort of agreeing with you that Test cricket is in a bit of danger.
Yeah.
Going.
But what I'm saying at the end of that is that cricket's in a bit of danger, because Test cricket in the short term could go because of the interest from a broadcaster and a sponsor perspective of the shorter formats of the game, and you're left with, marquee series. But if there's too much of the shorter format of the game, people start to lose interest, and that goes, then you've got nothing. What have you got at the end of it? So I think, cricket's in a tricky position, but, let's just see. Let's wish them all luck, and we'll see how we get on. We're just going to round up a few bits that happened in the world.
And if they need a coach,
it's good
to come and do a bag, and that is part of it. Someone like myself who is looking at a future career in coaching, something I've definitely got ambitions to do. So I look at these leagues popping up, and something like that, is something you think, actually, there's more. The flip side is there's more opportunities for this, up and coming coaches to get opportunities to do it. And you talk about players dotting around in these. You're also getting coaches now that are following the tournaments around, and it might be the point where you get a coach that is contracted to a super franchise, and that coach basically goes around and does those tournaments for that one franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all moves forward anyway. When we do our roundup, which we're going to do and finish off today's show, it's all basically T20 and one-day stuff anyway. So down in Australia, the BBL was finished. Perth Scorchers won their 6th Big Bash title by beating the Sydney Sixers by 6 wickets. I don't know if you watched any of it, but it's always a decent tournament. Did you see they're trialling something? Is it next year about substitute or specialist batters who bat only and don't have to field, I think, and that sort of type of stuff? Did you see that?
Oh, I played in some of them years ago. I remember Owe Shah, I think, getting opportunity to be a substitute batter. But what I have seen is a bit of controversy with the Sixers and Baba, all that sort of going on. But talking about the final there, and Perth have made themselves a real force in that league, and I'm incredibly pleased for David Payne. I played with Payne at Gloucester. And he. Yeah, he's showing himself. He was brought in midway through, I think, and he took 3 wickets in that final and bowled beautifully. And so someone who has played for England, that's doing something like that will give his credit and his kudos a massive boost. So really, really pleased with that. The Big Bash is a fantastic tournament. They show it on terrestrial TV at fantastic times that people can watch. They do it really, really well. But in terms of the roundup for it, Perth are a real force, but more so, hugely pleased the fact that David Payne an English player, has done so well in that final.
English player, there's a couple in the new WPL that's into the sort of the latter stages now. Challengers Bengaluru are at the top of the table currently, although we're playing the Mumbai Indians today. I'm not sure what happened there. I do know that Shiva Brunt was the first woman ever to get 100 in the WPL today for the Mumbai Indians, who got 199 against Bengaluru. Challengers who've got Lauren Bell in that side, Smriti Mandana and Elise Perry. They're top of the table. From the Delhi Capitals have got Jemima Rodriguez, Laura Vulvart, and Annabelle Sutherland. So there's some really good players in that WPL, and that's definitely a tournament, I think, to keep an eye on in terms of watchability and how it progresses and the stars that it produces in the future. New Zealand, what happened in the T20? India lead New Zealand 3-0 after losing the ODI series, which was quite surprising, 2-1. New Zealand beating India at home there in the one-day internationals. You see Abhishek Sharma, he scored 68 off 20 balls or something as the second fastest Indian T20 50 after Yuvraj hit a 50 off 12 balls in that 2007 match where Brody went for 6 sixes. You weren't playing, were you?
I wasn't. Are you telling me that there's two countries playing against each other in T20 matches in preparation for a World Cup that's about to start in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? Don't know anybody else is doing that.
No, and so they're getting a bit of a head start. So if I was a betting man, I'd be putting on potentially that those two teams are going to do pretty well.
You think so? Yeah, yeah. I think India. In India, very difficult to stop in anything. And let's see what was there. What else happened? Don Bradman. Only 11 caps that he wore are known to exist, and one of them was sold at auction yesterday for £232,000. What do you reckon one of your caps are worth?
I reckon I'd have to probably pay someone the postage to have it.
We're going to finish on somebody you do know well. Troy Cooley has been brought back into the England setup. He was a bowling coach, wasn't he, in 2005?
He was, and he was credited with a huge amount towards the success that we have. And it was, as much as his knowledge, it was to do with the person that he is. So he wasn't overly technical with the guys, but he was their mate. And so he was someone that they could go to and they could throw some ideas around. And it wasn't about his ego. That was the one thing as a coach you have to be careful of, and you'll 100% see coaches out there that it's about their ego and what does this mean for them. Troy's not about that at all. He's all about relationships with his players and how can that player perform the best. And he'll subtly work with them and he'll get them moving in the right direction. So for him to be coming back and overseeing the whole sort of fast bowling program for England cricket, I think is a fantastic move, because he's hugely experienced, but most of all, he's a calm, well thought individual who will do the right thing and make good decisions.
Which England bowler do you think improved the most under his tutelage in 2005?
I think Simon Jones was really close with Troy. I think, sort of, I remember those two spending, just being mates, sort of chatting with it. But I think I wouldn't like to say, it's hard to say one individual, but it's more of how he put the whole pack at ease. That's what Troy was brilliant at doing.
It's interesting, is it? A fast bowling coach that oversees the whole program. One day there might be a wicket-keeping coach that goes around the country spotting new keepers. You never know.
I'm trying to think who does it. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a few.
Doesn't James
Chris
Foster
Reed,
do
I know. Fozzie is involved. I think Fozzie might be. Where did I see him recently? I think he might be with. He's with New Zealand doing some coaching at the moment.
Right, okay.
I saw a social media clip. So you've got those guys. So you have got some guys of my sort of era who are involved, and it obviously Bruce French used to be the one. He basically changed Matt Pry. I was not going to say created Matt Pry, but he definitely had a massive influence on Matt being the world-class keeper he became. He gave him a method. He was fierce on making Matt practice his keeping as much as he did his batting, and it showed. Matt became arguably the best wicketkeeper batter in the world for a stage there, and he benefited from having a specialist looking after him day in, day out.
Le Grand Fromage, as he became known. And on that note, Jonesy, we need to wrap it up, and it's late. Obviously, we started late, and it is both our bedtimes. We won't go any further with that. But have a good rest of the week, and we will record this again next week for another episode of Close of Play. See you, mate.
Sounds good. Can't wait.
I bet.